Hi, I'm Linda Magid, and I'm presenting Chapter 3, Individual Differences 1, Demographics, Personality, and Intelligence. So you should be on the slide that says Chapter 3. And now on to the next slide. Demographic characteristics include race, nationality, and ethnicity, age, and gender. Since the United States is a great melting pot, it makes sense that diversity in the workplace is increasing. Understanding the implications of racial, national origin, and ethnic diversity is important in organizations because of our tendency to favor colleagues of our own race in hiring, performance evaluations, pay raises, and promotions. Unfortunately, people from minority backgrounds are more likely to feel stress, be threatened by stereotyping, and perceive discrimination. Standardized tests used in hiring practices can produce a stereotype threat in which minority test takers ultimately score lower. Well-developed tests can predict job or training success much better for all groups. Regarding age, 4 generations are currently represented in the workforce: seniors, baby boomers, Generation X, Generation Y. Age tends to be positively related to job performance. Each generation brings their own unique perspectives to the workplace, which in turn influences policies and procedures. Seniors are staying in the workforce longer, affecting retirement policies, and baby boomers are concerned with wellness benefits, health, and well-being. Generation Xers want a work-life balance, while Generation Y are technologically savvy and the most diverse of any generation. The influence of age and training environments has been studied extensively. It is likely that age is related to anxiety and other emotional variables, particularly in a complex or technologically oriented setting. Some organizations are using reverse mentoring to bridge the generation gap by transferring technology skills younger workers bring to the workplace to more senior employees. GE CEO Jack Welch popularized reverse mentoring when he realized the internet was going to transform business. This mentoring up program has made managers of all levels comfortable with each other. Where gender is concerned, given the lack of research evidence and the legal risks of gender discrimination, it is best to assume there is no meaningful difference in managerial performance between women and men. Next slide. Personality refers to dynamic mental attributes and processes that determine individuals' emotional and behavioral adjustments to their environments. Although personality continues to evolve throughout our lifetimes, it is fairly consistent over time and is generally stable in the context of work. Gordon Allport was the first psychologist to examine the concept of personality traits. A trait refers to a tendency to behave consistently over time and in a variety of situations. Personality traits are associated with differences in motivational states, self-set goals, assessments and interpretations of situations, and reactions to these interpretations, including anxiety. I was once let go from a job in my 20s for being too efficient and what my boss called a personality clash. I think the workplace of today would hesitate to let an efficient employee go due to a clash of personalities. The thinking has certainly come a long way since those days. Next slide. Personality traits important to organizations. Achievement motivation is the strong desire to accomplish something important and take pleasure at succeeding at something important and demanding. I've actually seen this trait firsthand in my work experience. Our company assigned the development of a revolutionary new software to a programmer who was inclined to embrace the challenge. Rather than become bored or frustrated because it was a slow process full of hits and misses, it just fired him up more because the anticipated results were so successful, and not only for the company, but for himself personally and professionally. Next, fear of failure. That is the feeling of anxiety about attempting and failing at a challenge and appearing incompetent. In many cases, that fear is so strong, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The next trait is tolerance for ambiguity, the tendency to view ambiguous situations as either threatening or desirable. Managers with a low tolerance tend to be more directive with their employees and not empowering them to make their own decisions. Being tolerant of ambiguity is related to creativity, positive attitudes toward risk, and orientation to diversity. Locus of control reflects the degree to which a person perceives events, to be under his or her control, or internal locus, or under the control of others, which is the external locus. External locus is related to passivity or learned helplessness. Internal locus is related to confidence in one's abilities to learn a task. Personality types A and B. Type A's tend to be impatient, competitive, ambitious, and uptight. Type B's are more relaxed, easygoing, less competitive. Type B's are not without stress, but they do confront challenges less frantically, unlike Type A's. Type B's rarely experience a frustrated sense of wasting time. Type A's are more prone to stress and coronary heart disease. I'll expand more on the big five on another slide. So on to Machiavellianism. Two important reasons for understanding this trait are issues of loyalty and ethics. These employees are less willing to be loyal to their jobs or organizations. Highly Machiavellian managers tend to view ethics as less serious and are less likely to take action in the face of ethics violations. Bullies. Bullying is costly to employers through higher turnover, greater absenteeism, higher workers' comp costs, higher disability rates, and diminished workplace reputation. Nobody wants to work there. 50% of U.S. workers report either being bullied or having witnessed a bullying incident. It is 4 times more common than harassment. Most workplace incidents are done by supervisors, sadly. Next slide. So this is where we talk about the Big Five. The Big Five is a personality framework consisting of 5 dimensions: extroversion, emotional stability, agreeableness, conscientiousness, and openness to experience. Of the 5, emotional stability and conscientiousness tend to have the strongest and most consistently positive relationship with performance motivation. Next slide. The Myers-Briggs Type Indicator is a popular personality inventory based on Carl Jung's work on psychological types. The MBTI uses 4 scales with opposite poles to assess 4 sets of preferences: extroversion or introversion, obviously they're polar opposites; sensing or intuition; thinking or feeling; judging or perceiving. The possible combinations of these preferences results in 16 personality types, which are identified by the 4 letters that represent one's tendencies on the 4 scales. So everyone's going to be one or the other of each section of the scale of the 4. The MBTI was never intended to be used to identify personality profiles and label people. It can be useful in team building, but not as a basis for organizational decisions. I actually took the MBTI a couple of semesters ago and found I am ISTJ, which translates to organizer, trustworthy, responsible, and good trustee or inspector, which I found to be pretty accurate. Next slide. We're moving on from personality to intelligence. There are many types of intelligence or mental abilities, including general mental ability, information processing capacity, verbal ability, and emotional intelligence. The types of intelligence relevant to most organizations are general mental ability, multiple intelligences, and emotional intelligence. Next slide. General mental ability is the capacity to rapidly and fluidly acquire, process, and apply information. Information processing capacity is the manner in which individuals process and organize information. Mental ability tests assess general mental abilities, including verbal and mathematical reasoning, logic, and perceptual abilities. General mental ability involves reasoning, remembering, understanding, and problem solving. Next slide. Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences suggests that each individual possesses a number of distinct forms in varying degrees. There are 7 multiple intelligences: linguistic, logical mathematical, musical, bodily kinesthetic, spatial visual, interpersonal, and intrapersonal. The different intelligences represent not only different content domains, but also learning preferences. Also, cultural differences may emphasize the importance of different intelligences. Next slide. Emotional intelligence, an interpersonal capability that includes the ability to perceive and express emotions, understand and use them, and to manage emotions in oneself and other people. There is much controversy surrounding the notion of EI. Some argue that its theoretical conceptualization is unclear because it is overly inclusive, lacks specificity, and encompasses both static trait components and malleable trait components. Um, so it's a little vague, broad, and includes things, traits that are either inborn or changeable. So it's pretty vague. However, EI is composed of 5 dimensions: self awareness, self motivation, self management, empathy, social skills. The most effective communicators recognize emotions conveyed in facial expressions. The 7 universal emotions are expressed in the face exactly the same way, regardless of age, race, culture, ethnicity, gender, or religion. They are joy, sadness, fear, surprise, anger, contempt, and disgust. I'm sure if you've ever seen the look of joy or disgust across someone's face, you knew exactly what they were feeling. A number of studies have supported the usefulness of EI, although some controversy exists around the notion of emotional intelligence. It is distinct from other ability and personality trait measures. Next slide. In summary, people are different. Our personalities, demographics, and intelligences are different. Individual differences are important to organizations because they influence outcomes ranging from job performance to turnover. By understanding the characteristics of coworkers, we can choose the best organizational behavior tools or management style that will be most effective. Flexibility is the key to effective management. Next slide. And now we're up to the discussion question. Do you agree that emotional intelligence is an important factor for being a good leader or manager? Which aspect would you say is the most important? Thank you.